Jacki, welcome. Thanks for joining.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Yeah, I will pull up your presentation and step out of the way. Good luck. And I will join back up with you in about 10 minutes or so.
Okay, cool. Hello, Hot Takes Live audience. I'm Jacki Leahy, and I am going to be talking about how a single source of truth is nonsense, and I've had enough of it. So I am the founder of Activate the Magic. We are a fractional RevOps advisory. And interesting fact about me, I was the mascot in college. It was UMass Amherst, so technically I was a D1 athlete. Technically, but not really. Okay, so here's the origin of how I think single source of truth is a bunch of nonsense. So, and I can explain this by the Dunning-Kruger effect. That is how the less I know about something, the more of an expert I feel like I am on it. And the more and more that I learn, the more and more I realize that I actually know nothing. I know nothing. And I think that is super applicable to the single source of truth situation, where CEOs and CROs and like the LinkedIn sphere talk about how you got to have a single source of truth. You gotta. And if you don't have one, then you don't know what you're doing, or you can't do it. And gosh, like I couldn't figure out how to do that. And as a Salesforce consultant, RevOps consultant, I've seen more than 50 Salesforce orgs, like in revenue orgs, like deeply intimately. And I've not seen one in the wild. I really haven't. I would really love to see one. And, CVS, like Extra Care, like they literally have all of my prescriptions. They know what hair products I use. They know everything. And yet they think my first name is Seth. I have no idea when Seth went in as my first name, but they've got my phone number, they've got my email, they've got my medical history, but they call me Seth. And I've actually tried to correct this. This has been, I think, more than 10 or 11 years since the Extra Care card came out. And I've talked to store managers, I've called, no, cannot get figured out. So I'm beginning to think that single source of truth actually doesn't exist. And yet, I feel bullied by the single source of truth. So I liked the Mean Girls reference. Raise your hand if you've been personally victimized by Regina George. And in this case, it's single source of truth. So the more I learn about data and how it works, and data lakes and all the data connectors, if single source of truth does exist, it's extremely contextual. It is extremely relative. So maybe there's a single source of truth for the sales team, and there's a single source of truth for the marketing team, and there's a single source of truth for the finance team, but there is not one major single source of truth for the entire org. And the middleware, as we know it up until now, has been extremely dumb and extremely frustrated because it is not future-proof. You change one thing and you mess up everything else. So especially like the endpoint to endpoint, like Zapier, one thing gets updated and you're broken. And if all your other Zaps or all your other middleware rely on that, then you've got a popsicle stick train that's just totally broken. It's dumb. And my third point is, you taste like chicken. And I think ops people know this, where your architecture, your data is not special. It might be a little bit unique based on what it is you sell and how you sell it. But in B2B SaaS tech, we really all taste like chicken. We've got leads, we've got opportunities, we've got customers, we've got product. And so it feels like all of these software solutions are trying to sell to us by saying, you're special, you need this, you're special, you need this. No, we're not special. We're actually all pretty much the same. So now that I've come to this very depressing realization that I've been bullied for like 8 years, here's how I'm managing this realization in real life. So if there is a single source of truth project that you're being brought in on, either if it's a client or if it's your internal team, you really want to manage those project expectations. Like they're exactly what is the scope of this, and really push back on any sort of highfalutin idea that you're going to have a single source of truth for the entire organization. So pay your dues up front so you're not paying the tax later, and really manage those project expectations. One way to bust those silos and have at least a Rosetta Stone of what everyone's talking about is having a data dictionary. So you days like chicken, you can go to the Open SaaS Institute. It's like a wiki for SaaS metrics, and really get on the same page across your org. So when we say customer, what actually do we mean? When we say lead, what actually do we mean? Account. So aside from how Salesforce defines something, or how your PostgreSQL situation describes something, or Zendesk or Marketo, outside of those very specific definitions, what are your organization's definitions? And the third item is considering a distributed source of truth approach. So I'm calling it middleware 2.0. Companies like Synchrony and Get Cargo, they are realizing that a data lake isn't appropriate for everything, and something going in and not really being able to find it isn't appropriate. But having a central place where you can orchestrate and normalize and keep data in sync across the organization is super useful. So not being like, well, everything has to be in Salesforce. No, it can be in all the places, but let's get on the same page about what is the winning source of truth for different objects and fields in terms of your entire org's data organization.